Okay, so we have the Earth, which is signified by this little flat plane here, and then we have this whole area which is the sky. Now let's assume that the sky kind of ends here, and then this is space. So this is space, this is the sky, and this is the Earth. Three different things. Now, Earth obviously also represents physical reality, so body and physical reality. Physical. Now, the sky represents etheric energy, or just what we call energy. Potential to do something. Potential. And space kind of represents nothingness. It's the imagination, it's the astral. So I just write imagination. Imagine your astral, magic to an extent. The magic's more in between these two, as we're going to talk about. It's in between the astral dimension and the etheric. So just write that as well. Etheric. To give you some ideas of things. Now, here is some hypothesis on electricity, electromagnetism. If you go in the sky in this area here, it's full of electricity. If you go in this area here, the Earth, it is magnetic. Well, no, it's not magnetic. Well, kind of. It's a ground. So here is a ground. So you can kind of think, if you want to think about it, this is more positive and this is negative, right? And then this is just, I don't know, neutral maybe, or nothing. Maybe one way to look at it. The way I see with electricity is you've got the positive aspect, which is, I believe it's electricity, and I think the negative aspect, the magnetic field, the magnetism, is the control of it. So for example, the magnetism, I don't know if this is actually real in electrical terms, but I assume the magnetism is what gives it kind of like a form, is what gives it a shape. I speak loosely because, you know, electromagnetism is a non-physical entity, so it's going to have a spiritual shape or a non-physical shape, if you can kind of get what I'm talking about. But the electricity is what gives it power. Because if you go up into the higher atmospheres here, each meter is 100 volts, I believe. 200 volts. So, you know, the old buildings with the resonators, they get all this electricity, right? And then it feeds it back into, you know, some kind of battery or ground or whatever. You can look, if you look up atmospheric electricity generators and all that, you can find how to make them, and you can find videos on people like running motors and light bulbs and all that often. Now, the energy of magic, I believe, is this energy. It is this electromagnetic, this you know, heavenly but also earthly energy. Because what we're doing is we are first imagining. This is pure imagination, right? Pure imagination here. We're imagining something, and then we're using our etheric energies, which is this non-physical stuff that's kind of like in the atmosphere, and we also have it because we are a you know, body. This is your physical, your earthly form, right? So this is your earthly form, negative, and then you've got this field of this etheric field around you, which I talked about how you can see it in one of the last magic videos. Basically just hold your hand up to the sky or to a wall. You have this field, etheric field, but also everything else becomes kind of like a space for imagination, because I can imagine things anywhere. I can imagine anyone, within reason, so to speak, anywhere, any place. But your etheric energy is still tied to the body. Similarly with this resonator, it's still tied to it's ambient. It's ambiently everywhere because it's the Earth's. If you want to look at the Earth as a sphere, you can do that. If you want to look at it as a plane, you can do that. And there's just this aura, or if it's like this, there's this aura above here. This aura of etheric energy, right? Okay, so now I hope you have that idea that physical object radiates etheric energy aura. And astral is kind of like, that's kind of like a way to, it can be a way to direct it, but you can purely just direct stuff etherically. Anyway, let's get into some like actual practices to kind of explain this. Okay, so I'm gonna hold my hands out as if I'm like holding a ball, just right in front of me, and in them I'm gonna feel like I'm holding something. And what I'm doing is I'm using my etheric energy to create an etheric energy ball. So try it out yourself. Try to create an etheric energy ball. Now, I see the etheric energy, it's kind of thickening a little bit around my hands and in between, and I get that weird staticky thing. It's not super strong, to be honest, but it does, there is some kind of interaction. So you just feel like you're drawing out energy, you're shaping it into a ball, and you're kind of holding it. You can also do this mentally through your mind to direct it, but you can also use your hands to kind of direct it, like almost using your hands as a mind. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to imagine a ball of light within my hands and overlay that over the etheric ball, and kind of have both an etheric ball and a ball of imaginary light. And I'm starting to notice that the space in between my hands is starting to warp a little bit. It's kind of like if you have like a psychedelic plant, and if you ever burn it, and the space around kind of warps, it becomes like a magical zone is what I think. That's what I'm starting to see. And now I'm going to stop, take my hands away, and I still notice that area, a space, is still kind of staticky and weird. It's kind of hard to look at, it's hard to see. If I look at other areas, it's clear, but the actual air, I'm going to clear that air, the actual air there has been kind of changed. Now magic, I believe, is using your imagination to imagine something, then using the etheric energy to give it more, because here's the thing, the etheric realm is the halfway between these two, between reality, physical reality, and imagination. So you're kind of trying to make it real in an etheric way. But I think there might be a level deeper, which is literally making it real in a physical way. Because what if you wanted to magically form an apple, or magically make a hole in a wall or something like that? You would have to change the actual physical structure. So I believe magic works on all of these levels, but using the imagination is kind of like a guide. Because if you have a very strong imagination, you actually start to attract etheric energy. If you practice the exercise I just told you, which is instead of trying to make an etheric ball in your hand, just purely imagine a sphere of light somewhere in the room, in your hands, wherever. And eventually, you will start to see that etheric energy. It will start to it's almost like you'll get like a blue glow in that area if it's strong enough. So potentially, if the imagination is strong enough, the physical reality starts to warp towards it. Similarly, maybe if the etheric form, which is more like of feeling and such, is strong enough, maybe the imagination and the reality starts to warp towards it. I'm not sure. I'm still trying to learn how to, like, set shit on fire or push an object or something. I haven't, I'm still trying to get to that point. But these are my hypotheses. So there's three different things to try to change the earth, to try to change the etheric energy, and also try to change the astral. But I believe they all interlink together, and that, the etheric world, the energy world, gives the imaginary world energy, while the earthly, that's like the grounded shape. That's where everything gets grounded into. So anyway, there's just some ideas to play with, practice with. So try those exercises, imagining spheres and trying to and control etheric energy. Also, if you have an object, the idea of like a wand or a staff or a scepter, make like a wooden wand or something, and then try to cover it with your etheric energy. Cover it with like a sense of feeling, and then also try to cover it with imaginary energy, imaginary light, and see what happens. You'll see that weird blue glow. You'll see the kind of etheric energy in atmosphere. That's another good practice to practice this. And then you can try to gather it in a ball on the end of that wand or the scepter or whatever you've got. So anyway, those are the exercises. Practice them. Here's some ideas, and of course, check the links down below if you're interested in social, commercial, any kind. You need to email me, or you want to grab my books, or I've got divination services on Fiverr for if you want a astrology chart read. Otherwise, if you want to donate, feel free down below. And that's all. So have a nice day, and I hope you enjoyed it. One last little thing that I forgot to get is that when people say things like using emotion and passion and all that, that is the etheric energy, while using just imagination is just using that astral, that imaginary faculty. But people usually say combine them together. So I hope that's interesting.